Hello, in this video I'll guide you through a few important TideCloak Admin SDK endpoints using curl examples so that you can adapt them to any language. These endpoints are used to let users manage their own clients, for example, setting up admin functionality for the application. The only exception is the IGA approval flow, which uses our TideCloak JavaScript SDK, but I'll go through that at the end of the video. Alright, let's get started. My bearer token here is no longer valid. I'll just grab a new one. User management. So for the user management, you have create, retrieve, update, delete, and list users. We'll go through the first one, which is a post. This post is to create a new user, and it requires a path parameter for the realm. So I have admin SDK here, which is an existing realm on my TideCloak instance. And it requires a request body. This is just a user object. We will only need the required values. So I'll remove everything and leave just these. Okay, so for username, let's create an account for Teddy. Teddy at test.org. Teddy Jane. I'll leave enable to true so that the user can just log in. If it was false, then the account is not active yet. And I'll leave email verified to true. When you hit execute, you see that the curl command that you could use is post to our updated URL that we've updated the path parameter to admin SDK. Requires the authorization header for your bearer token. We're sending a JSON to this endpoint. And you can see that in the request body, it's an object of the user that we've added before. And we get a 201 back with our response headers and no response body, but a message saying user created. The next one is list all users. You can also do optional filter and pagination on this endpoint. It's a GET request, and the same as before, replace the path parameter with your existing realm. When you hit execute, you should get an array of user objects back. And these are the users that are in your realm at the moment. So we've got Bobby, Carrie, Lisa, and Teddy, and Terry. And the curl request for that is a GET request with our updated URL, as well as the authorization header for your bearer token. You can have query parameters so that you can specifically filter out a user. So I think that was Terry in there. Let's see. Let's see if there was Terry. Is it Carrie? Execute. Okay, so was trying to search for any users with the username Carrie. Yes. So we got an array back with just one user object. So Carrie exists. If we have someone that doesn't exist, it's still a 200 but an empty array. You can also chain the query parameters. So I'll just do, before I leave that, the endpoint will look like this. Users, question mark, username equals query1. And when you chain the query parameters, let's just go up to 2 users. You'll see that it looks like this. And we get just 2 users back. The next one is get a user by ID. So this is instead of listing out all the user and then filtering it, you just get one object back. Let's grab Bobby's. And this is a path parameter as well. Hit execute. curl command for that is with our updated URL, accepts application JSON, and the authorization header with our bearer token. And we just get one user object back for Bobby and all of Bobby's details. If the user doesn't exist, we get a 404 user not found. Next one is updating an existing user. Let's grab Bobby's again. Okay. Updating existing user, we have realm in our path parameter as well as the user ID. So you could have a user management dashboard where you list out all the users and maybe an edit button next to them where when you click on it, it just passes the user ID to the update endpoint. It accepts a user object of what you want to update. So we just want to update let's say the email. New Bobby email. And put this back to false because we want we want Bobby to update to verify the email. We have an extra comma. 2 or 4, sweet. You see the curl command accepts anything, has the authorization header and content type application JSON, and our request body is just an object of what we want to update. If it was successful, we get a 2 or 4 back with our response headers and user updated successfully. We just double check and see what this looks like on the user object. So we're going to query the user directly. And cool. So username Bobby, new Bobby email at test.org. Is that it for that? Email verified false. To delete the user, you require the user ID. Let's delete Bobby. Hit execute. It's a delete request with the updated URL for that specific user in the path parameter. And you need your authorization header too with a valid token, and you will get a 2 or 4 back. User deleted successfully. All right. The realm role management endpoints. You can assign, remove, and list realm level roles. So the first one is a GET request. You will need to update the realm path parameter with your realm. And let's just execute it. So you can see that it's a GET request with this endpoint with 2 headers, accept application JSON and your authorization header. You'll get a 200 response back if it was all good, and it's an array of role objects. You can see that the client role is false, meaning that it's a realm role, and for composite, if you don't know what a TideCloak composite role is, it's pretty much just like a parent container that has children containers inside it. So this role has child roles inside. If you were assigned a composite role, you inherit all the children. And for our realm, we only have 3 roles. Cool. The next one is get realm level roles assigned to a user. Okay. So we'll go back to our, let's say our dashboard where we have all our users listed. Let's go with Lisa. Okay, let's get all the realm level roles assigned to Lisa. We'll provide with the user ID for Lisa, which is a path parameter. Hit execute. It's a get command. It's a get request, and we updated our realm path parameter as well as our user path parameter with Lisa's user ID. It accepts application JSON and has the authorization header. And you get 200 back with an array of role objects that Lisa has. So Lisa has 2 realm roles, the default roles admin SDK as well as offline access. Awesome. The next one is a post. We're assigning a realm role to a specific user. So you need to update the user ID and the path parameter to whoever you want to update. Let's update Carrie. What does Carrie have? Carrie only has one role. Okay, cool. We want Carrie to have the offline access as well, same as Lisa. So, okay. We'll add Carrie's user ID to the path parameter, and then we go grab the role object for offline access. That is given to us with this endpoint here, where we list all the available realm roles. Go back and add it to our request body. The request body is just an array of role objects, so you can have you can assign multiple at the same time. So just comma and another object, but we'll only assign the one. Click execute. You can do this with a curl command, which is just a post with our correct endpoint updated with admin SDK and the specific user ID. Accepts everything, authorization header, and content type application JSON. And our request body, which is an array of one user, well, one role object. And you get a 2 or 4 back with just the response headers, no body, and realm role assigned successfully. Awesome. So if we were to query, I forgot who it was. Again, we'll get 2 roles now. Awesome. The next one is how do you remove a realm role from a user? It's a delete request. You'll update the realm path parameter with your realm and user ID with the user that you want to remove the role from. Let's remove it from same person and same role. Actually, let's remove default user role so they can only have offline access. Okay, so your delete request will look like this. It requires a request body of an array of role objects. So this is the role that you want to remove from this specific user in this specific realm. Hit execute. You see the curl command is a delete request to this URL that you've replaced, which you provided the realm path parameter and the user ID path parameter. It accepts anything, has the authorization header and content type application JSON, and the request body is an array of role objects. You get a 2 or 4 back with the response header, no content, but realm role removed successfully. Awesome. Let's just double check that the role was actually removed. And yep, this user only has offline access now. Cool. All right, let's move over to client role management. So for these endpoints, you can assign, remove, and list client level roles. With the first request, this is listing all clients in a realm. Start on that, try it out. So for this, you need to replace the path parameter with your realm. And hit execute. You'll see that it's the curl example is a get request to our updated URL with the path parameter updated to our realm. With the headers accept, application JSON, and the authorization header with our bearer token. And we get a 200 response back in an array of client objects. So all of these are client objects. You see the first one is account and it has all the account configuration. And there is a few more. Okay. The next endpoint is also a get request. This is list all roles for specific clients. So let's check the roles under account. We need the client unique ID. And this is a path parameter, and realm is also a path parameter. Click on execute. You'll see the example is a get request with our updated URL, and our realm and client ID has been updated in the path parameters as well. The headers are accept, application JSON, and the authorization header with our bearer token. we get a 200 response back and an array of role objects. You can see what's different before with the realm roles is now client role is true. So these are all the roles that belong to the account client. All right, the next request is getting all role mappings for a specific user. It's a GET request. This endpoint gets all the roles, so the realm roles as well as client roles. So you would need to use this to get all the client roles for a user. There's no specific one where you can actually get all the user client roles. So we will use this endpoint instead. So what you need is a user. So let's grab Carrie. We have Carrie's ID. Try this out. We added to our path parameter for this user. Realm has been updated to our realm. Hit execute. The curl command is a GET request with our updated URL. Realm has been updated and we have provided the user ID. And the headers are accept, application JSON, and authorization header with our bearer token. It's a 200 response and it is an object with just realm mappings. So Carrie only has realm roles, no client roles. Carrie has offline access, and that is it. Let's see if we can add Carrie a client role. So that will be a post command. This post command assigns a client level role to a specific user for a specific client. So we provide the user ID in the path parameter, and then also the client ID. Client ID being, we will add an account role for this user. Okay. We will use this other GET request to get specific client roles. For a specific client, get client level roles assigned to a user. For a specific client, this one. So we already queried all the roles for the account client, and let's give Carrie this role, being manage accounts. So we go back to the post. In the body, it's an array of objects, and we're gonna only add one role, which is our manage account role for the account client. If you wanted to add more, you just keep adding more objects, more role objects into the request body, but we're just gonna add this one. So we click on execute, and the 204. The curl command is a post to our updated URL where we updated our realm path parameter, included a specific user ID as well as a specific client ID. The headers are accept or authorization header and content type application JSON. And our request body is an array of objects with just one object for now for the manage account role. We've got a 204 back with our response headers, no content, but client roles assigned successfully. We can double check this with this GET request. This GET request is getting client level roles assigned to a specific user for a specific client. So we grab Carrie's ID, add it in, as well as the account. Hit on execute. So this will get all the users' client roles for accounts. And this user only has one. It's a 200 response. It returned back an array of role objects, and there's only one role object, manage account. So this user only has this account for the accounts client. You see the curl example is a GET request to our updated URL with the headers accept application JSON and our authorization header. We can go back to listing all role mappings for this user and see what it looks like now. You can see now, instead of just having role mappings, it also has role mappings and client mappings. Client mappings shows there's a object for account, and this account object has an ID of the unique ID as we saw before for the client, and the client name being account, what mappings this user has that is related to this client. The last one would be a delete request. This is removing a client level role from a user from a specific client. So let's just do the same thing where we remove the role that we assigned before from query. Get requests, we do not want this role. So the request body is an array of role objects. We are removing this role. Execute. Cool. The example curl command is a delete request to our updated URL. Headers are accept or authorization header and content type application JSON with our body of an array of objects with just one object for now that we're removing from the user. And we got a 2 or 4 back with our response headers, no content, but the client role has been removed. All right, let's go on to invitations. So this endpoint is a custom TideCloak endpoint. It's what the admin would use to invite a TideCloak user to link the Tide account. So you will need to provide the admin your realm ID in the path parameter, and then as query parameters, you need the specific user's ID and the lifespan. So we'll go back to our dashboard and see what user we would want to invite. Let's grab Sasha's account. Add it as a query parameter, as well as a lifespan. So this lifespan is how long the URL that you're going to get back in the response is going to last. For the request body, it's an array of strings. These strings are IDs to required actions that's set up in TideCloak. The only one we want is the link Tide account actions. So we remove the first 2 and just keep 1 in there. Hit on execute. You'll see the curl example is a post to the updated URL where we have included our user ID in the query parameter as well as the lifespan. The headers are accept application JSON, our authorization header, and content type application JSON. The request body is just an array with one of the required action. You'll get a 200 back and a URL. This URL is what you're going to send it to the user you're inviting. And it will look like this. The user gets the link, they hit on the link, they get to this page. Once they click link account, they'll be redirected to your home org, and the user would either create a new account or use the existing Tide account to link. Since I have an existing account, I'm going to use that instead. Cool. My Tide account has been linked. All right, now let's get onto our IGA endpoints. All the IGA endpoints are custom TideCloak endpoints. We'll go through a mixture of our Swagger demo, and then I'll show you how to implement on JavaScript. First, we need to toggle on IGA. And to do this, it's a post request to this endpoint here. You will need to update realm to your existing, to the realm that you want to toggle on IGA. So I have admin SDK here, and then it's just a form data in your request body with is IGA enabled equals true. I'm going to execute it. You'll see that in the curl example, it's a post to our updated endpoint where I've updated the path parameter to admin SDK. It accepts or has authorization header for our bearer token and content type XWW form URL encoded. and just is enabled equals true. You will get a 200 response back saying IGA has been toggled to and what it was toggled to. And for us, that is true. So since I've toggled on IGA, now I need to assign my first admin the TideCloak admin role. So this is a client role. It's a client's role that lives under realm management. Realm management. Cool. So I grab that ID here. Go to do a post. Now, realm management. Probably need to look for that role as well. So I'll use the request that will list all roles for a specific client. I'm gonna grab the user that I want to add this role to. I think it's the user Sasha here. Add it to that. Okay, so this all roles for specific clients. We're looking for the TideCloak admin role. There it is. Copy the role object and add it to our post to add it to assign the role to this user here. Click on execute. Cool, got 2 of 4, client role assigned successfully. Awesome. So since I enabled IGA, that role should have been in draft mode. So we're gonna go down to our IGA change requests endpoints. And we have 3 gets here. This is to get change requests for users, change requests for roles, and change requests for clients. These are pending review from the admins. Since we added the role to user, it will be under the user endpoint. So gonna update the path parameter to our realm. Click on execute. Give me a second to find it. Okay, so I've updated the endpoint to point at the correct URL. It's actually tide-admin. So, okay, so we're gonna get a list of pending user role change drafts. I've updated the realm parameter to my realm. Click on execute. And you see the curl example, which is just a get request with the updated URL, the header, accept application JSON, and our authorization header. You'll get a 200 response back and an array of objects. These objects here are change request objects for a user. Okay. There's only one object here. It just has a lot of data in it. So I'm granting a role to user. The client ID of this role is realm management for our current realm, which is admin SDK. Action type is create, meaning that it's a addition, like I'm adding a role to a user. I have my draft record ID here, and then there's a array of user records. So I added a role to Sasha. So the user records shows all the users that have been affected by this change. Since I only added a role to Sasha, you only see user records for Sasha in this request, as you can see, or for Sasha. Cool. This is what you'll use to show on the dashboard to show the admins what they will be reviewing. So it's pretty much, it's a granting a role to user, what change set type it is, what request type it is, it's just for user, client ID, and the realm ID, as well as maybe the draft record. I think the main one will be the user record because this is showing what you're going to be signing. yeah, up to you to do the UI however you like. So I want to approve this. So I need to sign it. So because there is no Tide Realm admin user yet, this is me assigning the first admin. So I am signing with the VRK. I don't need approve enclave yet. I will show you why that is. Okay, so I go to sign it, and then in the body, I need to provide the change set ID, the change set type, and the action type. The change set ID would be this draft record here. The draft record from a request. And put it there, click on execute. Cool. So you can see the curl example is just a post to our updated URL where we updated the realm path parameter as well. No, just that one path parameter. The headers are accept application JSON, our authorization header, and content type application JSON. Request body is just an object of the change set that we're signing. So you can see the change set ID and what type it is and what action type. And the response we got back is a 200 response body change set request, empty, and the message is change set signed successfully. The URL is empty and requires approval pop-up false because you only require approval pop-up once you have signed over your first admin, because that admin will be doing the signing in the future. At the moment, it's just a VRK signing. Which means if we were trying to sign something else, it will not allow to. It will say requires approval pop-up true. That is where you'll use the TideCloak JavaScript SDK. Since we signed it, we now need to commit it, but let's check what the status is now. Is there a status on this? Status is now approved, but not committed yet. So we need to run this endpoint, which is a post to the commit endpoint, where it's just the realm path parameter, and then the same thing as before, where you need the change set ID, which is the draft record of the request, the type, user role, and create. We hit execute. Our curl example is a post to our updated URL. The headers are accept all, authorization header, and content type application JSON, and just our object, our change request object. Okay, cool. We got 200 back, and change set approved and committed. Which means if we were to list all the pending user role requests, it's empty because we committed it. So now I can sign into my admin console. It is on. Okay, so after I assign my first Tide Realm admin, I should be able to log into my custom admin console that I've made using the endpoints that I've talked about before in the Swagger docs. Let's log in. I'm going to use the Tide account that I used to link the user from before. Continue. Cool. So now I've logged into my custom admin console that will be managing the admin SDK realm. So yeah, from all the endpoints that I've talked about before, it's implemented in here, like client roles. This uses the endpoint where it lists all the clients under my realm. And if I click on one of these buttons, this is the endpoint that lists all the roles, and I'm filtering out the specific client roles for the client. I go back, go to realm roles. This is the endpoint that lists all the realm roles. Go to user management, and this is the endpoint that lists all the user under my realm. The one that I want to show you is the change request. In here, it lists all the pending change requests for roles and users So when you list that out, you either get drafted, approved, or denied. But we don't have any change requests at the moment, so let's create one. Let's go to query and add a role to this user. All right, so there should be a change request now because I added a role to the user, which I do here. So now I have a change request. I'm going to click on review draft. Review draft is the signed endpoint. So it was this sign request I've showed before. But now, since I've already signed over my authorization, my VIK authorization to the first Tide Realm admin, I won't be able to sign it directly. I will need to use the Tide JavaScript SDK to use the approval enclave. I get this pop-up that will ask me to sign in. So it will show me this, where I will need to use the correct Tide account that I've used to log into this admin console. And it will show me the review change request. So this is where I check whatever I'm signing is correct. So there's a summary, applications affected, just the broker, and the expiry of this request. In here is what you're actually signing. Ensure that whatever you're signing is correct because this is what your client will be consuming. This is pretty much the access token. Well, what the access token would look like. Click accept. Then now it's moved over to approved because there's only one admin, so threshold is still 1. So that's approved and I commit it. Cool. So now the user should have that role in the access token. So this is my change request page. It's a Next.js app. I have the TideCloak JavaScript already installed, and I'm only importing the approval enclave. In this page, you will see that I use fetch user requests and fetch role requests. In JavaScript, it looks like this, where I make a get call to those endpoints before to retrieve all the pending requests, just for user and just for roles at the moment. And I'm passing in a valid token. Well, it will check if it's valid later in the call. But I pass in my token to make these requests. I get an array of change request objects back, and I'm just setting it in my state so that I can show it on the UI. When I clicked on that, I think it was review draft button before, it is calling this function, review change. Yep, handle draft, review change. Is it review draft? Drafted change request. It's a button. Click on review button, I'm passing in the row that I've clicked. So the change set request object, I'm passing through the action type from that object, the draft record ID from that object, as well as the change set type, which I construct into another JSON and passing it into that post to sign it. So the same sign endpoint from before, I'm passing in the body and the token. Then I get a response back. From that response JSON, I check if the value requires approval pop-up equals true. If it is, then I need to initialize my approval enclave. To do this, you just need the home org origin. And you can get that from the pop-up response from before. Just create a new URL and chuck in the pop-up data.uri. Pop-up data being that response JSON that I got from my sign request. Leave everything as empty strings and then initialize it. Grab your VUID, which is just from your access token. When the user is linked with Tide, they will have a VUID in the access token. So you can just grab it from your token like that and add it as an array string array, as well as the custom domain URI that's also provided in the response from before. Once you have it initialized, you can call the get authorizer approval. So you can see that I've initialized it and I've declared it on Heimdall. So I did await Heimdall.get authorizer approval. And these are the details that I've passed in. For user context change requests, this is pretty much all you need to know. It will always be a base64 URL, and the model is always user context :1. And the data that you can provide, the data that you provide in is already provided for you from the response from before. So popup data.change set request and popup data.expiry. Once that's passed in, you'll get the approval pop-up that we saw before. And now it's up to the user to either accept it or reject it. And then you can check the action made on the pop-up by calling authorization approval.accepted. If it's false, then it's rejected, and then if it's true, then it's accepted. Okay, so add rejection and add approval are two endpoints in the Swagger docs. It's a post to record a rejection on a draft change request, and the authorization, add an approval signature to a drafted change request. So if the user rejected the change request, you should add it to your database. It looks like this. It's just a post to the add rejection endpoint. You provide a change set request object, so just the action type, change set ID, and change set type in the body, as well as a token. TideCloak will track the rejections and the approvals for you. This is needed because if you have a quorum active, so let's say you got 5 admins, but only 5 admins, but you require 3 approvals, you track the rejections to see if the threshold will never be met. If it will never be met, then it's denied because you can never commit it because you don't have the correct amount of approvals. Same thing as approvals here. If threshold is met, that means you're ready to commit it. So once you commit it, it will check if the user who approved it is allowed to. If it's not, you'll get an error. If you commit it before you have the correct amount of threshold, you also get an error because you don't have enough signatures. Okay, this is the add approval. What you need to pass in is the change set object. So same thing, action type, change set ID, change set type. But now you also need to pass in the authorizer approval and the authorizer authentication. This is just a post request, so you pass it in as the body, the token, and you pass in the authorizer approval as well as the authorizer authentication in the post request as well. Where do you get the authorizer approval? It's from the get authorizer approval function. Just do authorizer approval.data, and authorizer authentication is when you call await Heimdall.get authorizer authentication. You will also need to close the enclave or just be open in the background. So you can either do a try catch and then add it in the finally where it does a cleanup, or whenever you finish a request, just do Heimdall.close. So like it's in here. After I got a rejection, I just close it. After I get a approval, I just close it. Cool. So that's pretty much the example of how you would use it in JavaScript. There should be documentation somewhere that you could read through, which would be, I guess, more in depth. But yeah, awesome. Thank you.